Okay, it is 6 p.m., so we will begin this public meeting agenda. And I'm asking for any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Does anybody have an interest to declare? And I see none. So we'll move forward with the purpose of this meeting, and I'll read our blurb. And personal information collected at this public hearing is collected under the authority of the Planning Act and will be used to assist in making a decision on this matter. All names, addresses, opinions, and comments are collected and form part of the minutes which are available to the public. Questions regarding this collection should be forwarded to the Director of Planning. The purpose of the public meeting is to present planning applications in a public forum as required by the Planning Act. Following presentations by the applicant or staff, council members will have an opportunity to ask questions for clarification and or further information. The meeting will then be open to the public for comments on questions. When you speak, please provide your name and address for the recording in the minutes. All comments should be directed to the chair of the meeting. The applicant will be provided the opportunity to address public questions once all members of the public have made their submissions. For applications being presented tonight, there is no decision being made at council. It will come at a later date. Following a council decision, notice will be circulated in accordance with the Planning Act. If a person or public body would have an ability to appeal the decision of the council to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the township before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. So we'll move on to the first item of business, which is 3.1 zoning bylaw amendment application D14 2023-011 75 Benson Park Road. So we will go to our planner to give us preamble, and then we do have some members of the public online watching with us. And if once we get past the questions for council members, we will go to the public for any input at that time. Go ahead, Madam Planner.
Thank you. Through you, this is an application for zoning bylaw amendment for the property located at 75 Benson Park Road. The property is shown on the screen in front of you. The subject property is developed with an existing house, a pool, and an existing boathouse. The application is required to allow the conversion of the peaked roof boathouse to a flat roof for amenity space. The applicants are also proposing to redevelop the existing house on the property. It's not known at this point exactly what zoning amendments are required for the house. Further information is required from the applicant. So this application is only being brought forward for a public meeting this evening and will be brought back once it's determined exactly what zoning relief is required to address the house on the property. Notice was circulated in accordance with the Planning Act by providing mail out to all landowners within 120 meters of the subject property and posting signage on the property. To date, in response to the notice, there has been no inquiries or comments received from the public. I would note that the applicant and their agent are also on the phone, on Zoom, if there are questions. And I would just show you an image of the existing boathouse on the property. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, so questions from council in regards to this application. Go ahead, Councillor Graf.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. As I read the report, it gets very interesting when we see that in some years ago, 2009, that it went to the Ontario Municipal Board and a variance was overturned. It led me to wonder, when I read that this property and the boathouse, it seems, are both legal non-conforming. I didn't read anything in that report that made them legal non-conforming, whether through variance and or zoning amendments. I just wondered if next or whenever this comes before us again, whether that could be included, because I'm very curious about whether a variance was given to the boathouse when it says everything is legal non-conforming. Thank you.
Go ahead, Madam Planner.
Through you, the boathouse is not legal non-conforming. It's it is as it exists, it's conforming. The zoning amendment is to allow for the flat roof on the boathouse. As well, the variance is related to the lot coverage of the house itself. And so the initial proposal, I believe, I'd have to go back to the report, but the first variance, I believe, was to increase the lot coverage or the appeal to the Ontario Municipal Board was to an application to increase the lot coverage. I believe it was to 18% as opposed to 10. That was denied and brought back to the existing lot coverage of the property. A subsequent variance was granted to allow the pool on the property. So the variance is applied to the house structure and the pool structure. The pool was allowed to remain, and there was a pool shed that was required to be removed. So staff are currently working through the details of lot coverage based on the existing structures on the property and awaiting further information from the applicant to ensure that lot coverage is addressed, to understand how that relates back to the decisions of the Ontario Municipal Board.
Okay, and just to be clear, then what was the status of the boat port? Had it received a minor variance due to its massing, or was it just built? Was it built with a permit?
We don't have information specifically with respect to that, but there are no variances that relate to the boat port on the property.
Okay, thank you.
And further questions or comments, Councillor Fode or Deputy Mayor Fode?
Thank you, Worship, through you to our Director of Planning. Is the way I read this boathouse is being removed and a different boathouse is being erected, or we're just changing the roof?
Just the roof is changing on the existing structure.
So the footprint at the bottom remains unchanged.
There's no change proposed to the area. It's simply a change in the roof line to allow them to be able to use the rooftop area as amenity space.
Okay, thank you.
Any comments, questions? Go ahead, Councillor, maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through to the planner. So the boathouse is actually being raised, if I remember correctly, to raise the boat out of the water. That's why the roof line's being taken up and then made flat, and then the glass railing. So the view from the house is still unobstructed to the waterway. Correct?
Through you, I'm just sharing my screen again. There's an image of the boathouse there. So there is a slight peak on the boathouse. So yes, with the flat roof, it would be below the top of the cliff. I don't know that as it exists today, it necessarily impacts the view, but it wouldn't further impact any views as it relates to having a flat roof.
Okay. Any further comments or questions? Okay, none from council, so I'll go to the public. If there's anybody online that would like to speak to this item, please put your hand up. Use the raise your hand feature on the Zoom. And I don't have anybody's hand up at this point in time. So seeing that there are no other comments or questions, we will move forward with adjournment. Motion comes forward. Oh, Tracy Zanders put her hand up. So my apologies. Tracy, we've allowed you to speak. You should be able to speak now and we can hear you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's Tracy Zander from Zander Plan. I didn't jump in when you asked for members of the public. I'm the
I apologize.
agent. That's okay. I just wanted to acknowledge my presence, and the applicants are here remotely as well. So yes, your staff have provided us with some questions and some comments, and we're going to work through those. It may result in some change to the application. And so we've been back and forth with staff about lot coverage and accessory buildings and those old variance decisions. So I just wanted to acknowledge we're working with your staff and look forward to bringing this back to you for a discussion at a future meeting. Thank you.
Does anybody have a question for the applicant or their agent? I'll recognize Councillor Lackey.
Thank you, Worship, and through you. It's simply a question based out of curiosity as far as the well and the septic. Being a new build, I'm assuming it's time for an upgrade anyway, but the movement of the well, I was wondering if there was a purpose for that or whether the well would be built over top of. That's my only question, no concern.
Ms. Zander?
The reason for the relocated well might be better answered by the applicants, who I believe are also on the call this evening, Madam Chair.
Okay, and would that be Mr. Artington and Ms. Bain?
Yes, I can't
Oh,
see the names that
there
you
we
see,
go.
but either
Okay.
one of those work. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, Ms. Bain, we've recognized you and you are able to speak now.
Hi there. Good evening.
It's Scott Winch and Kathy Bain here.
Oh, my, okay, perfect.
That's okay.
The intent is for the septic to be replaced and the well either to be reused or relocated. But the intent is to try and reuse the existing well.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions for the applicant or the agent? I see no hands up and I have no other hands up online. So we will go forward with adjournment. Motion comes forward from Councillor Jameson, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that the public meeting adjourn. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's carried. Thank you.